Agenda 21 is kind of a code name for a master plan originated at the United Nations to change the political and economic system of the world to one of total collectivism. And in order to do that, people must not be allowed to have independence. They must be dependent on the state for everything. Otherwise, they won't be easily controlled by the state. That means they can't have private property, mostly. They cannot have land of their own. They have to live in, preferably, high-rise apartments that are provided to them by the state as a benefit, so to speak. Oh, good, we got a free apartment. But these people at the top want all humans to be dependent on the largesse of the state. That means that they don't want anybody living out in the boonies. Anybody that's got a couple of acres of land and his own water supply and can grow his own food and that kind of thing, or have some sheep or some chickens, these people are a threat to the collectivist society because they aren't going to go to the politicians and say, please feed me, please clothe me, please give me shelter. They tend to be independent. That's the secret behind Agenda 21. They want people out of the country. They want corporations out there growing all the food and that kind of thing, but they don't want anybody living out there because that way they cannot be controlled. In order to control mankind, we have to get them all into the big cities. We have to rack them up and stack them up. Get them dependent on the state for food, shelter, electrical power, their water, everything. That's the dirty secret behind Agenda 21.
Boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters around the world. It is your boy Chris Shul, aka the Esoteric Noetic, aka the Chocolate Nubian Soul Brother from Ghana, West Africa, aka the Vegan Prince Warrior King, which, by the way, is the title of my latest ebook, which is out today. You can check this out. It should be out today, all around the world. You can download this, or you can follow us on Patreon. I'll give you the PDF version. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to like the video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your momos, drop us the comments, let us know what it is. You know the drill. Let's get it. All right, so a lot of people say that the most washed body part of 2020, 2021 was your hands. But I would beg to differ. I would say that it was your brains. You've all been brainwashed. Well, not all of you. Obviously, if you're listening to this, chances are you haven't been brainwashed, right? And we've all been aware that a narrative has been pushed by the mainstream media that has been funded by big companies, that have been funded by pharmaceutical companies, that are funded by very, very sketchy people. And in the United States, the U.S. government gave approximately $1 billion of the taxpayers' money to the mainstream media to promote the narrative and so forth. And what's frustrating about this is it's one thing for people to be perpetuating misinformation or perpetuating a narrative, or the science, right? The science that has been arrived at through certain industries paying a lot of money to these scientific establishments to find a particular answer that is consistent with what they're pushing. It's one thing, right? But the frustrating thing is when you are supporting this. It's like you are digging your own grave. And this is what happens through the taxation system. Essentially, our monies go towards funding things that we often don't like, that include dropping bombs on countries with black and brown people sometimes, that include sometimes paying for experimental boom shakalakas that we don't want to be part of, that we're forced to take, that is often associated with paying for a system of collectivism that takes away our individual rights. So the best thing you can do if you don't want to fund these systems is just say, I'm not having it. You know, a lot of people think that you have to go directly against these systems. You need to protest and so forth. Simply remove your energy from it. You know, sometimes the surest way to win a battle is just not to fight it. You don't have to fight every battle you're entitled to. Not everything has to be confrontational. Sometimes you just have to walk away. It's like the art of the keto, right? You just use your opponent's energy against them rather than, meeting that resistance with more resistance. You just remove your energy from it. And that's what we all need to start doing. Removing our support of these systems that enslave us. Anyway, more to this. So, in regards to the brainwashing, the narrative, our tax dollars funding this narrative, the Department of Health and Human Services released information to the Blaze in response to a Freedom of Information Act. It's a FOIA request. Oh, that's what you call a FOIA request. Okay. Ooh. The information showed that the federal government had purchased advertising to the tune of $1 billion of taxpayers' money as part of a media campaign to build the boom shakalaka narrative. HHS has billed the campaign as a national initiative to increase public confidence and uptake of blah, 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 blah. We get it. And look, a lot of people would argue that, yeah, we need to get everyone on board with this thing. You know, that's fine, but do that with your own money, right? When you are funding industries involuntarily that are perpetuating a narrative that a lot of us don't like, aren't on board with, that's an issue. That is a massive issue. And it's not like this is only going on in the United States. This is going on pretty much all around the world. This is part of a massive system where the truth has essentially evaporated. They say that the truth is the first casualty of war, right? And a lot of people have acknowledged the fact that we are in a war right now. Now, granted, it may not be the most conventional war, but we're evolving. We're evolving with our tactics. When I say we, I'm talking about the people that are trying to enslave us. And rather than doing this on an outright level where they're trying to have us working on the plantation now, and that being the warfare that is being perpetuated. No, now it's become more sophisticated. Now it's the warfare of brainwashing. Now it's the warfare of denying the truth. You know, what's interesting, I mean, one of the things that has been perpetuated by the mainstream media in regards to just the reality of what's going on, what I would call the reality of what's going on, is that any information that's coming about from these conspiracy theorists in regards to figures and data, like a lot of the conspiracy theorists will cite sources like theirs or the TGA and say that, oh, look, this information is not corresponding with what has been put out by the mainstream media. Now, one of the things that's reported by the mainstream media is that you can't rely on theirs. It's unreliable, right? Well, if that is true, right, if their data is not supposed to be indicative of 1% of the actual figure, if this is according to the organization, supposed to be representative of only a small percentage, around what's estimated to be about 1%, if all of that is false, fair enough, it might very well be, it would be illegal because, at least in the United States government has the role of creating a system where they can accurately project what's going on with boom shakalaka injuries, right? If they've actually failed to do this, and the reports that we are seeing from this system, like theirs, are unreliable, then they have failed in their attempt to create this system. And it's actually enshrined within the law. I mean, granted, throughout the whole history of this thing, they essentially created a situation where these companies would be indemnified directly from being sued due to injuries. From what I understand, one of the caveats is that they have to create a system where these reports can be tracked, and they failed to do that. How appropriate. So now we essentially have a system where, one, the corporations that are actually making these substances for our benefit, right? Of course, they're doing a great job. Very, very effective. I for one, I think it's an amazing thing. The juice regiment that we've brought about, it's obviously doing a lot of good, right? But unfortunately, by the way, that was sarcasm. The system that we are using in order to determine whether what's going on is considered unreliable, and the United States government is therefore breaking the law. But that shouldn't come as a surprise. The United States government breaks the law on a daily basis. What they have been doing for the last 100 years, dropping bombs on people, countries with black and brown people, essentially coercing their citizens to undergo experimental treatment and so forth. I mean, these are all direct violations of the law. And no state of emergency, no legal code is going to justify that kind of behavior. But nonetheless, that is in fact what we are seeing. We are seeing a situation where our very rights are being circumvented in the interest of the greater good. We're seeing the pushing of Agenda 21, a collectivist system where we are moving more and more into totalitarianism. And unless people like you, people like me, speak up about this stuff, we are edging towards, in fact, we're already here in 1984. I mean, if people are truly aware of what is going on, things are, well, they're not looking good. But as I say, the beauty of the human experience, the beauty of just existence in the universe is that we always have the ability to change the world by changing ourselves. Be the change that you want to see in the world. You know, a lot of people have this mentality where you know, they need to take on the world, take on their nation, take on their community, you know, but the real change, it starts with yourself. You change yourself, and then your friends and family are influenced by your change, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes consciously. And then, of course, they change their behavior, and then they change their nation, and then they change the world. That's where change begins. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, be the change that you want to see in the world. And be sure to like this video, subscribe, click on the bell. Put this out there if you want to hear more truth bombs from yours truly. Check us out on the Patreon. Check out my book, Vegan Prince, Warrior King. It drops today. And remember, there are 3 things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the wisdomatic truth bombs of the chocolate Nubian soul brother. Surya Namaskar. Namaste. Peace be upon your butt cheeks. Peace in the Middle East. Ow!
What is liberty?
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet?
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
There are no political solutions, only technological ones.
The economics of the system don't allow multiple competing systems to survive.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.